Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, the Pewter Postgame Show, as we are breaking down a Week 2 win for the Buccaneers as they start the season 2-0, defeating the Detroit Lions by a score of 20-16. They got the monkey off their backs. They exercised some demons going into Detroit, where they ended their season last year, and defeat the Lions, not allowing a touchdown. There's so much to get into on today's show, so let's not wait any longer. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com and potentially also Nostradamus, SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are we doing? How you feeling after this huge, monumental win for the Bucs early in the season?
I think this says it all. That is some sweet revenge right there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I had a feeling this was coming. I talked to some people this week and just, listen, I was kind of dumb for picking the Lions to lose to the Buccaneers. But I talked to enough people in the organization. They just convinced me that they were ready. Todd Bowles had studied the Lions all offseason. This is not a game that was in week 5 or 6 where, it doesn't do any good in the offseason to study your opponent for week 5 and 6 because anything can happen. Lineups will be different. Lineups were different today, man. A lot of missing players, including one very important one in right tackle Luke Gedicke. But this undermanned Bucs defense and undermanned Bucs team went up there, and I'm really happy for Todd Bowles because he put a lot of time into this game plan. And this is something he's been working on for quite some time, and the players executed it. We did see Zyon McCollum's first interception, which I called on the pregame show.
You did call. Credit to you.
And it just was coming. And I talked with Zyon this offseason. There was actually, if you go back and watch the receiver show on Netflix, one of those receivers was Amon-Ra St. Brown. And there's clips in there where Chris Collinsworth is saying, they're picking on Zyon McCollum, Jamel Dean knocked out of the game. And, boy, they're really going after 27. They didn't even say his name. They just said the backup. Mm-hmm. And, I sent that clip to Zyon. And I said, time to flip the script. And he said, you know what? And he's been waiting for this week for a long time. Matt, he could have had 3 interceptions. He actually had 2. Credit Amon-Ra St. Brown from stripping one of those interceptions. Then he had another opportunity to close it out in the end of the game there. But what a tremendous defensive stop after defensive stop after defensive stop in the red zone. Tampa Bay's offense, they did enough to win this game. But this really goes on Todd Bowles and the Bucs red zone defense for just coming up with answer after answer for Jared Goff, picking him off twice. Christian Izien with the huge pick. There was enough pressure where Goff was rattled in the pocket, and that was not the comfortable pocket that he had these last 2 games. Bucs, I don't think, had a sack today, but it was enough to rattle him into throwing a couple of interceptions. Just great team defense by the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles.
Yeah, Todd Bowles deserves a ton of credit, and this plays right into this super chat from Hezo813. Thank you for the $10 super chat, who says, Bowles and staff/players said this offseason they got smarter. It definitely showed today. Defense played outstanding. Yeah, I mean, again, we have to remember, no Kalijah Kancey, no Vita Vea for essentially half of the game.
That's right.
And no Antoine Winfield Jr. on the back end. And let's remember, Zyon McCollum was coming back from a concussion. There were serious doubts he wasn't going to play. And same with Tyke Smith. So it just shows how important depth is. Christian Izien getting that interception. Again, some really good hustle plays. Sure, he made some mistakes here and there. But that was exactly what we talked about on the Izien interception specifically. Exactly what we discussed this week, Scott, about putting pressure in the face of Jared Goff and forcing him to make a mistake and not being afraid to give up the big play, which they did to Jameson Williams early in the game. But you know what? It
Yeah.
didn't hurt them for 7. It only ended up being 3. That's why that second interception that happened with Christian Izien, that was a can of corn. That was a fly ball to the center fielder because Levante David had the blitz up the middle. Another defender was in the mix as well. This was you kept them out of the end zone.
Yeah.
Less than 20 points in today's NFL is a win for any defense, really, in my opinion, especially against that Lions team who, had a week to say that they were still knocking off the rust of it being a new season when they went up against the Rams. The Bucs did a great job in their own unique way of limiting the Lions. Because, Jahmyr Gibbs looked really good. Williams had the big play. Amon-Ra St. Brown still had, a lot of targets and had some big third downs. And you mentioned with not getting a sack. But it was a couple of individual performances by the Buccaneers that really got the job done. Servassier Dennis,
he
for
played
sure.
Phenomenal.
Jordan Whitehead. Shout out to Pittsburgh because the Pittsburgh guys came to play today. Jordan Whitehead was tremendous as well. They have their linebacker of the future with Servassier Dennis.
They do.
Opinion, based on what he
He
did.
should be the starter, in my opinion. I mean, it's a small sample size, but this guy, he's a factor. He's just faster than KJ Britt. I'm not disrespecting KJ Britt. I'm just giving credit where credit is due. Servassier Dennis is a faster player, more athletic, better in coverage, and he's out tackled him now in 2 games. And it's about the impact that you have when you're on the field, making those reps and those snaps count. He finds the ball, and he had some very clutch tackles today. He also made plays on special teams too. He downed a punt on special teams, and I know that he had 1 tackle as well on special teams. So he finished with 10 tackles today. I think the graphic I had is wrong. I think it happened with 9, but they ended up giving him 10. Jamel Dean had 10 tackles. Jordan Whitehead, as you said, Matt, that Pittsburgh Panther connection was strong between Whitehead and Dennis today. 11 tackles. Some huge key stops for the Buccaneers.
Thanks to LDBC's Most Wanted for the super chat. We have a couple other super chats to get to. And you know our rule. If you super chat us, we're going to get to it ASAP. So thanks for the $4.99 super chat who says, despite Cohen doing his best to lose the game, defense stepped up huge. Kudos to the defense. Yeah, I mean, we can kind of break down the offense a little bit further and as the show goes on as well. But I still think the defense is the storyline, man. The Bucs, while they only scored 20 points, they were consistently moving the ball up until the end of the game. Yeah. Obviously, we have to talk about Aiden Hutchinson and what the hell went on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the defense, to have all these defensive linemen that are not known for pass rushing and they're known for, getting stops on run plays and making big plays in that area.
Yeah.
To just completely rattle Jared Goff, to completely do the bend but don't break thing that we talked about, not allowing a touchdown is so difficult to do in today's NFL. Yeah. And the Bucs defense showed up today. And, now they go and play a Broncos team next week, a rookie quarterback that doesn't have the scrambling ability that Jaden Daniels does or the obviously prowess that Jared Goff does. I mean, what a start for this defense through 2 weeks.
Yeah, here's the crazy thing, right? So the Buccaneers were outgained in this game, 463 to 215. But yards don't win games, points do. And
correct.
now you've seen Todd Bowles in this defense, and this is crazy. The Lions were 7 of 17, which is 41% on third down. It's not a great percentage, right? Tampa Bay was just 2 of 10. For 20%. So kudos to the Lions' third down defense there. But the Bucs' third down defense was so good that the Lions had to go for it on fourth down 5 times. And they converted 3 of 5, including one of those special teams gimmicks with the fake field or the fake punt. And again, credit Servassier Dennis for making an impact tackle right there. That was huge. That could have gone, for 20, 30 more yards, maybe a touchdown. Yeah. So it just but here's the key stat. We talked about this on Wednesday's Pewter Report podcast, Matt. We talked about how the Bucs would have to score touchdowns, not field goals. They did that. They outscored them in the on the scoreboard by not letting the Lions get those touchdowns. Lions had 1 touchdown. But in the red zone, Tampa Bay was only 1 of 2. They didn't get down to the red zone very often. one of two, but the Lions were 1 of 7 in the red zone, 14%. I mean, you're talking about a high-powered offense with a lot of weapons with Jared Goff, and to only come through with 1 touchdown in 7 red zone appearances, including 2 at the end of the game where they got 0 points and were rebuffed by the Bucs defense. That's just phenomenal.
Yeah, the red zone and third down for the defense was everything. The Bucs were not great on third down, but they had to get the stops when they needed to at the end of the game, and they absolutely did. So, hey, I hope the storyline is Bucs defense as an entire unit, the grittiness of Baker Mayfield, and then Chris Godwin just being the entire passing game for the Bucs.
Yeah.
We got another super chat. Thanks to Lucas Patisse with the $1.99 super chat. Will Dennis be the starter from now on? So we actually just mentioned that a minute ago.
Yeah.
I kind of like the rotation so it doesn't exploit all of the weaknesses of the Bucs inside linebackers too much. So I'm okay with the platoon situation right now. You never know what's going to happen with injuries and things of that nature. So we'll see. I think eventually Dennis is the full-time starter. Maybe it's in a season from now.
Yeah.
But I'm loving the signs that we've seen from the Bucs inside linebackers not named Levante David. So far, so good. The
other thing, too, Matt, I mean, Servassier has gotten dinged up, and he's missed some time. Missed some time in the first preseason with a hamstring injury, missed the entire preseason with a shoulder injury. He got sick last year and missed the Panthers game during the regular season after he had his first start against the Colts. So, maybe it's better to have him just be a factor on a little bit of a fewer snap count to keep him fresher for the entire season. Maybe that is the right approach. Should he be the starter? Yes, probably. Will he be the starter? I don't think so. I think Todd Bowles is going to do what you suggest, Matt, and keep Britt and Servassier rotating in there.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember, like, KJ Britt is a lot more of a vocal guy. He talks a lot of trash. He calls a lot of the plays. Even at practice, he's the guy that's breaking down the huddle with the whole team, not just the defense, the whole team, after they're done with calisthenics. So I think there is that element that KJ Britt brings to the team that is important to have him in the lineup. Thank you to Brad Sylvain for this $9.99 super chat, who says, time to give Bowles some credit. He can coach anyone to play in the secondary. Go Bucs. You're spot on. I mean, going back to the Super Bowl winning team, that was all young players. That was a rookie Antoine Winfield Jr., Carlton Davis, and Jamel Dean were still early into their careers, only a couple of seasons in. Todd Bowles makes it work one way or another, by hook or by crook. Doesn't matter if it's Christian Izien in the game or whatever it may be. Bowles, more often than not, pushes the right buttons to get the most out of his players and have a strong performance on defense.
We talked about Todd Bowles leveling up last year as a coach, and he did. I mean, look at the game plan he put together for the Eagles. It's far different than when the Eagles ran for over 200 yards on his defense back in week 3 on Monday night. Then he just completely obliterates them with a masterpiece of a game plan that really rivaled what he did in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs in that wild card win, 32-9 against the Eagles. They stopped the tush push. Anthony Nelson had a safety, shut down Jalen Hurts in the Eagles ground game. And then this was not the prettiest of wins, okay? But it was effective. It was efficient, especially in the red zone. You can tell he put the time and the work in, and even without a couple of key pieces. I mean, imagine if Vita Vea had played the second half. Imagine if Kalijah Cansey had played in this game. Right? Imagine if Antoine Winfield Jr. would have played in this game. A Buccaneer defense at full strength, I think, would have even been better than they were today. And today was good enough. So Todd Bowles deserves a ton of credit. Let's see if he continues to level up. So far, so great for Todd Bowles. This was a team that Jared Goff and didn't look any different in the playoff game last year than he did in week 6. I didn't see any improvement. I thought it was a huge letdown that Bowles and this Buccaneer defense allowed them to score 31 points and come back and win the fourth quarter and win that game. Just didn't see anything that was different against Goff. Now we did this time, even without some of their premier players. And so kudos to Coach Bowles.
Good enough with a close to depleted team. As far as missing your right tackle, missing everyone else we talked about on the defensive side. Have a super chat to get to from Hammy Actual. But we have to get to this super chat because it's a super
Yeah.
chat of $49.99. Thank you to Black Gold 1999 for this very generous super chat, who says, "How about them Bucs DBs showed up today to play?" Absolutely spot on, Black Gold 1999. Thank you again for the super chat. Zyon McCollum was terrific, not just with the interception as well.
Yeah.
There was tight coverage with the Bucs DBs led by Zyon. I thought Jamel Dean, after allowing the big play to Jameson Williams, really stepped it up after. So I was pretty pleased with what Jamel Dean brought after that one lapse. Izien with an interception. Whitehead, arguably the player of the game for the Bucs on the defensive side after Zyon McCollum. So an extremely job well done. Tyke Smith with some good coverage against Williams in the end zone that forced the Lions to screw up the eventual field goal at the end of the second quarter.
Yeah.
When they messed that up, Tyke Smith ended up making another tackle for a loss later in the game. So, yeah, I give it an A+ to an A performance from the Bucs secondary. I'll say A+ because that was a huge win.
It really was. I mean, the Bucs put the NFC on notice that they're a contender. That, you can talk about the Lions all you want. You can talk about the 49ers all you want. I guess we have to include the Saints in the discussion now.
Yeah, what the heck happened there?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Bucs and Saints. But the Buccaneers are there. I mean, hello, NFL. Welcome to the Buccaneers defense. And they've got an offense, too, even though it's still a work in progress. And give Aiden Hutchinson, give that Lions defense credit. They're good. They're really good. But here's some interesting stats for you. So if you look at the targets and the number of receptions, Amon-Ra St. Brown was targeted 19 times. Now, he did have 11 catches for 119 yards, but he was targeted 19 times. There were 8 of those targets that he didn't catch. Same with Jameson Williams, targeted 11 times. Only caught 5 of them for 79 yards, including that 50-yarder that you mentioned, Matt. So that means that Tampa Bay's defensive backs getting their hands on a lot of those Jared Goff passes, right? You're damn right. Including the interception by Christian Izien and the interception by Zyon McCollum. 9 pass breakups by Tampa Bay, mostly in the secondary. 4, a career-high 4 by Zyon McCollum, 2 by Christian Izien, 1 by Jordan Whitehead, and 1 by Jamel Dean. 11 tackles for Whitehead, 10 tackles for Dean, 10 tackles for Savassier Dennis, 9 tackles for Izien, and 6 tackles for Zyon McCollum, 7 tackles for Tyke Smith. That back end was just playing tremendous football for Todd Bowles.
They absolutely were. They brought it today. I don't know what else to say besides they brought it. And also, I remember what I was going to say. The other thing was with St. Brown, I thought the Bucs did a really good job of limiting the yards after the catch. Like, yes, he made a ton of receptions, but he didn't run wild on the Bucs after he had the football in his hands. And I think that was really important. And one of the biggest tackles they made on the yards after the catch was when St. Brown got tackled at the 1 or 2 yard line and prevented a touchdown, which was really important. Let's get to the super chat from Hammy Actual. Thanks for the $4.99 super chat, who says, "I'd be easy on Liam Cohen. Bucs were literally starting a FedEx Kinko's employee at right tackle." So, yeah, that's the other side of it with the offense. And I still think overall it should be positively looked at about how they were able to, pull out a win. I think it was certainly a gritty win. But being unable to stop Aiden Hutchinson, and I'm not even putting all the blame on Justin School. Obviously, he deserves a fair amount of it. But that was a disgusting performance by the Bucs trying to limit Aiden Hutchinson. Like, that first sack of the game actually wasn't on Justin School because it was Cody a stunt. It was on Cody Malk. Yeah. And then just not double teaming him enough, I thought was very silly, especially when Liam Cohen during the week was like, we know we have to guard. We know we have to block Aiden Hutchinson. We don't want this game to be looked at as, oh, well, Aiden Hutchinson took over the game. Well, he took over the game, damn it. And if it wasn't for the Bucs defense playing even better, Aiden Hutchinson's the story in this one.
Yeah, I will say this. It wasn't like Liam Cohen ignored Aiden Hutchinson. All right, Aiden Hutchinson was the second overall pick in the draft. Second overall. just a couple years ago. Justin School was a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Cade Otton was a 4th-round pick. Rachaad White was a 3rd-round pick. Those were the 3 guys in charge of blocking Aiden Hutchinson today. Okay, this is not a fair fight. And I'm going to cut Liam Cohen a little bit of slack here because it wasn't like he didn't try. You go back and watch the tape. There were plenty of chips. There were some double teams. It just didn't work. The guy is a game wrecker. He is a Pro Bowler. I've seen Warren Sapp split a double team and get sacks. That's what great players do. That's what we expect great players to do. If you're a great player, it shouldn't be a surprise that you split a double team and get a sack or 2 or multiple. He got 4.5 sacks today. He would not have had 4.5 sacks if Luke Gedicke's out there. It's not to say he wouldn't have 2 or 2.5 or 3. He was just having a day. But let's not forget, this isn't just a first rounder. This was the 2nd overall pick. Could have gone number 1 overall. He is an absolute monster, and he showed it today. Big players play big in big games, and he showed up. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It just wasn't. And Liam Cohen's going to go back and second-guess himself, and he deserves some criticism for sure. Do not bury Liam Cohen for this game plan. There were plenty of times where Cade Otton double-teamed and tried to get the chip. It was not effective. I saw a play where Rachaad White kind of threw an elbow and chipped him. It didn't work. Okay, so sometimes you have to credit the player for defeating the game plan. It wasn't like Justin School was isolated one-on-one against Aiden Hutchinson every down. That wasn't the case. It just didn't work. And if it was Luke Gedicke, I'd like my chances a little bit more than Justin School. But Justin School got schooled. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick. Yeah. He's a backup offensive tackle going up against one of the best edge rushers in today's game. End of story.
Well, that's what I said on the Peter Game Day stream. I was like, let's remember Aiden Hutchinson's a top 5 pass rusher in this league. Like, when the Bucs play against the Broncos, I'm sure Justin School, if he has to play, if Gedicke's still not available, Justin School's going to have a little bit of a better matchup. Yeah. It was just tough when, Baker couldn't drop back without immediately having to run and scramble. And Baker saved a lot of more opportunities where there would have been sacks. I mean, Baker's rushing touchdown, I think what was more impressive was the run right before. Yes. When he, avoided the sack, got the first down, kept that drive going. That was an awesome 11-yard run. Don't get me wrong. But that was just as important as well. Thanks to Meets McGee for this $2 super chat, who's given kudos to Scott, who says, Scotty Nostradamus Reynolds. Yeah, Scott, you were right on the Zyon McCollum interception. And you were also the only Pewter reporter to take the Bucs to win, if I'm not mistaken.
I won a lot of money on BetUS today, betting on the Buccaneers.
That's also big time and also great. So
the same. Here's one thing too. Before we carve the tombstone for Justin School, let's remember his biggest play of the game was recovering this fumble. Aiden Hutchinson came up the middle on a stunt. Cody Mauch was late, and there was also a time where Graham Barton was late. If you want to take Justin School to task, the interior offensive line for the Bucs between Bredesen and Barton and Cody Mauch, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty today in the run game, and it wasn't pretty in pass protection. He was not the only one, but he did save the day here because the Buccaneers did get a field goal because he fell on the live hand grenade here and got the ball back for the Buccaneers. So that, if you're looking for a saving grace, there it was.
Almost reminiscent of how last year Jamel Dean couldn't come down with that interception that ended up leading to 3 points. The Bucs got lucky in the fact that Justin School was right there to jump on the ball after Baker Mayfield had gotten sacked. So again, sometimes luck is involved, and the ball bounced the way of the Bucs in that one. Thanks to Tusk3 for this $9.99 super chat, who says, underrated statement, win by the Bucs. So proud. Defense was flying around. Aiden Hutchinson and his 4.5 sacks, but still an L. Yeah, that's what I think is most important is you can have great individual performances by other players, but that doesn't mean you're always going to win. I mean, there are times, I think like a great example, and it's a little bit different, but March Madness this year, the national championship game, UConn against Purdue. Purdue had this extremely tall guy, Zach Edey, and UConn just said, we're going to let him get his points.
Yeah.
But as long as no one else on Purdue is scoring, they're going to be okay. That was kind of the situation today for the Bucs with Hutchinson, even though you never want to have sacks.
Yep.
And Amon-Ra St. Brown, like we already talked about, with making plays, but not enough plays.
I grew up in Kansas City, okay? I remember the game where Derek Thomas had 7 sacks, which is still a record today. 7 sacks, most sacks in a game against the Seattle Seahawks. Did they win that game? No, they didn't. Matter of fact, it was Dave Craig throwing a touchdown pass, I want to say maybe the last play or the last couple seconds of the game, to come back and beat the Chiefs. I think Paul Cherry was the wide receiver. It's like a memory that's burned in my brain. And Derek Thomas actually had sack number 8 in his hands. And Craig just escaped him. He kind of overshot him and tried to reach out. That's a 7-sack game that Derek Thomas lost, and he should have had 8. If he had 8, they would have won the game. So, yeah, I mean, as great as the day was for Aiden Hutchinson, it didn't matter in the end because yards don't win games, sacks don't win games unless it's on the final play of the game. Points win. And the Buccaneers defense kept the Lions under 20 points. Tampa Bay gets the win.
Have a 1999 super chat. Thank you to Trustin Vorbeck. Good to hear from you. Who says, what a great defensive game. Just want to thank you for y'all's coverage. Mike Evans will end up being the best Buck of all time, even though it wasn't a huge game for him. Bucky will have the starting role by week 9. Yeah, a couple of things to break down, and thank you for the kind words. We spent a lot of time on the defense for sure. Mike is going to have a big game next week against the Broncos. You can book it because he's had a 100-yard game within the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
It's happened the last 8 years in a row or something like that. So Mike Evans is going to have a big game next week. So that's a little wink for you for next week's Pewter Picks and Props. But Mike didn't have to be a factor today because Chris, praise be to Godwin, was getting the job done. Now, it's interesting with Godwin because it's a little bit of a tale of 2 halves. He made all the big plays in the first half and then was nowhere to be found in the second half. But, I mean, Chris Godwin, at least in that first half, was carrying the Bucs offense to the tune of, what was it, 7 catches for 117 yards and 1 touchdown. I took the over on his catches. It hit before the end of the second quarter. So, what a game for Chris Godwin.
It pays to watch Matty. I'm sorry, I almost called you Matt Matera. On the weekends, it's Matty Diamonds because I watch Pewter Picks and Props and college bets, and I made a ton of money this week thanks to Matt Matera. You wasn't perfect, but you know what? I don't know anybody that is, but you absolutely nailed. You drove that home on the Pewter pregame show, on the Pewter Insider for our Pewter Premier and Platinum members on Friday. Talked about it during the week. You were high on Chris Godwin this week, and you nailed it. And I cashed that too, man. That's some good money right there.
Thank you. And Bucky Irving, I almost feel like there's a situation where the Bucs don't even have to name a starter. It's just like, oh, Rachaad White's in on this series. And then, oh, Bucky Irving is in on this series. But they got him the ball in interesting ways this week. It was a lot of end arounds, the pony package, as Liam Cohen spoke about during the week. It all needs to be better in the rushing game. I don't think it's just on Rachaad White, but go ahead.
I will say this. Remember, Rachaad White did have a groin injury early in the game.
Yes.
And that was reported on Fox. And so that may have affected his obviously his production, right? He didn't get a lot of touches today. And I think that really affected him in the passing game, Matt. We didn't see any screens today. And for as much pressure as you're getting to not use Rachaad White in the quick screen game, to me, that was, we don't think Rachaad can open it up. We think he can maybe churn between the tackles and get some tough yards, but we don't think that he can really crank it out in the open field and, because of the groin. I may be wrong, but I think that's probably what happened and why we didn't see Rachaad get more passes in this game.
Yeah, I was saying that too on the broadcast. I thought it was odd that the Bucs didn't go to the screen game a ton, just given how ferocious the Lions were, no pun intended, on the defensive line. And it worked too, like with Chris Godwin, they had that screen. I know it was like a 3rd and 23, but he almost got the first down there, and they had so much success in week 1 with it. You thought they would have, kept it rolling, but we'll keep it rolling with the super chat. Thanks to Randy Douglas for this $13.99 Canadian super chat. He says, Dan Campbell using his timeouts wrong instead of Todd Bowles was a pleasant surprise. They get points at the end of the first half. The outcome may have been different. Totally agree with you, Randy. First of all, the Bucs called the timeout in the first half. I could not believe my eyes when I saw it. They actually did there. Crazy that the Lions screwed that up at the end of the half with not being able to spike it in time, but while drawing the penalty, which was the rundown. And then I also can't help but think why Todd Bowles called the timeout after the Lions had went out of bounds. And it's like you already have a stoppage of play. Now you have to call a timeout.
Yeah.
Or now they decided to call a timeout and you maybe want to save it in a situation where if the Lions did score. But nonetheless, maybe the timeout was right because the defense still ended up getting the stops. But yeah, that was a big time moment in the game with, again, the Bucs bending but not breaking and getting the stops and making some tackles in the boundaries to make sure that either the Lions had to use a timeout or screw it up at the end of the half like they did. This game had a lot of oddities to it, whether it was the timeouts, the miss or the failed experiment of even trying to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
No touchdowns for the Lions. Chris Godwin in the first half, Aiden Hutchinson. A lot of weird stats.
Well, the Lions did score a touchdown. They did get the David Montgomery touchdown. In the second.
Oh yeah,
half.
that's right.
Yeah, but still, I mean, to hold the Lions and all of those weapons at home to 16 points. I mean, I didn't see that come. Matter of fact, I think you and I both took the over on this game in terms of the points. So yeah, we didn't see this game coming, but it worked out well for Tampa Bay and their defense.
For sure. Hey, another thing that really works out well, in my opinion, is when you have a Celsius energy drink, which of course is the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Check out all their great flavors from the sparkling watermelon lemonade to the sparkling kiwi strawberry. Tons of great flavors. If you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, head on over to the Celsius store locator. Punch in your address and it'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a Publix, a health and fitness store, a Stop and Shop, or your bodega.
Bodega, even in Detroit.
Even in Detroit. And once you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you want more, you can buy it in bulk. I recommend getting the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. There's so many great flavors. Buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save and have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drinks of pewterreport.com.
Yes, we have had some fantastic participation in today's Pewter Report postgame here, and keep it going. I mean, tell your friends. We're having huge numbers right now. Make sure you hit the like button. Give us a ton of likes and leave a comment, not just here in the chat, but afterwards. Doing those two things, you really help propel our Pewter Report podcasts out there. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It feeds it. Gets us in front of more fans. We're inching closer to 16,000 subscribers because of you guys. And we also have got a bunch of new Pewter Report TV channel members too.
And we're going to have 5 more because Joel Elrican has been kind enough to gift 5 Pewter Report memberships for Pewter Report YouTube channel members to get new ones. Thank you, Joel Elrican, for your very kind gift that hopefully many Bucs fans will get to use. Thanks to Lansdalius with the $10 super chat. Sorry if I'm not saying that right, but appreciate the super chat, who says, appreciate the post-game breakdown, fellas. If this team can ever get healthy and stay healthy, would it be time to start talking about the Bucs as Super Bowl contenders? Well, they're certainly playoff contenders, and they took a major, gigantic step forward with this win against the Detroit Lions this afternoon. I think when they go through their gauntlet schedule of the Falcons, now the Saints, the Ravens, and the 49ers and the Chiefs, and I know the Ravens lost today, but I still think overall they're a really good team. If they can win 2 out of 3 between the Ravens, Chiefs, and the 49ers, if they go 2 out of 3, the Bucs have to legitimately be taken serious as a Super Bowl contender.
It's only week 2. A lot can happen, right? Remember, Tampa Bay started off 2-0 last year. Todd Bowles was kind of pumping the brakes in his post-game press conference saying, we started off 2-0 last year. Look what happened, right? implying they went down to 4-7. Hopefully Tampa Bay avoids that pitfall this year. But you look around, I mean, the Lions are now 1-1, and they're a good team. They're going to be a playoff team. Will they win the division? Well, we'll see. Right now, the Minnesota Vikings are 2-0.
Yeah.
They just beat the 49ers with Sam Darnold at quarterback, 23-17. The 49ers now 1-1, and the Lions 1-1. Those are the two teams that were in the NFC Championship game last year. But Tampa Bay's 2-0. The Vikings are 2-0. The New Orleans Saints are 2-0. So will there be some new people crashing the party in the NFC? Yeah, so far that seems to be the case. We'll see how it all shakes out. Lots of football left to be played, but you'd rather be 2-0 than 1-1 or 0-2, of course.
Thank you to Joshua Shaw for this $1.99 super chat. If you have a following comment, I was trying to find one. If you did and I missed it, I apologize. We have a lot of comments right now and a lot of great Peter people.
Yeah.
But I do want to say thank you for the super chat. And if we see you in the comments, we'll bring up another comment. But thank you very much. Thanks to Hezo813 gifting 5 more Pewter Report memberships. That is fantastic to see. We appreciate that so much, Hezo. You're one of our top Pewter Report YouTube channel members. And thank you for all your support. Bucs Basement with his $4.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, what a gutsy win. I trash Bowles for his decision making, but it cannot be disputed. He gets the young players ready, except school. Yeah, I mean, he gets the defensive guys ready for sure. The offense is still a work in progress. It's more of a Liam Cohen situation. Yeah. But for all the times that we've criticized Todd Bowles, he deserves tons and tons of praise right now, and we're giving it to him.
Yeah, and again, too, Tyke Smith, we talked about it on the Pewter pregame show. We kind of broke the news that Tyke Smith was in Detroit. We didn't know if he was going to dress or not. It was going to be a game-time decision. He missed practice on Thursday and Friday after an illness. And so for him to not be at practice, because if he's sick, you're going to be isolated. For him to be as smart as he is with the football IQ, and it wasn't perfect. It wasn't flawless, but he didn't get picked on. It wasn't like he was the weak link on today or in today's secondary. So, yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles, Coach Rapone, Coach Ross, those guys in the secondary, Coach Johnson, they get these guys ready to play, whether young, whether you're veterans. It was certainly great to see.
Thanks to the Loot Group, Life on Our Terms, for this $1.99 super chat. It says, still seen enough? 6-0 to start the season. That would be a heck of a start, especially because they play the Eagles in 2 weeks. And they got
Eagles might be 2-0 if they handle business against the Falcons tomorrow night.
And that would be great for the Bucs. I mean, a lot of people had the Falcons as a top team, especially in the division. I'm not riding off not to pull a Geno Smith. I'm not ruling out the Falcons just yet. They obviously have to get their you-know-what together. But it'd be great for the Bucs to get up 2 games on the Falcons early in the season. And now it seems like it's going to be a 3-team race just based on what the Saints did today. So a lot of great competition in the NFC South. It got trashed a couple of years ago when the Bucs made the postseason by winning the division with an 8-9 record. Didn't do too much better at 9-8 with all the other teams faltering. But the NFC South is looking like it's on the up and up, at least with 2 teams.
Well, it really is. And another place that is on the up and up, if you're looking to watch football, and there's still a game tonight, and of course there's a game tomorrow night, and that is at Walk-Ons. That's right. You can head to Walk-Ons right now, catch the afternoon kickoffs in tonight's game. Saturdays and Sundays, college football, pro football. $4.49 pints, 22-ounce pours, $5.99 Michelob Ultra, Bud Light and Budweiser, Heineken Silver, 12-ounce cans, $5 neutrals, assorted flavors. Walk-Ons, 3 locations in the Tampa Bay area. The Lakeland location, the Midtown Tampa, down there by the stadium, as well as the location up here by my neck of the woods, Wesley Chapel, Lutz, across from the Outlet Mall.
What an amazing comeback, Coach.
You're not kidding. I mean, we did lose the game badly, but coming to Walk-Ons afterward, the team got a much-needed win off the field.
Walk-Ons for the win.
Happy hours tomorrow, 3 p.m. to close at Walk-Ons. Tuesday, all-day happy hour. You can't beat that. So when you're getting ready to watch your Victory Monday Pewter Report podcast, make sure you take your phone and watch it at Walk-Ons and enjoy those happy hour drink and starter specials.
Let's get the Super Chats rolling. Thanks to all of you for a great turnout. We have over 1,600 people watching on Twitter alone. That doesn't even include our YouTube and Facebook.
Yep.
So thanks, everybody, for spending your afternoon/evening with us. And thanks to Jack B for this $5 Super Chat who says, can't believe they didn't allow any points on the drive with 2 4th-down conversions. Shows how resilient the Bucs have become to overcome that. Yeah, I mean, the fake punt, I think, could have ruined a lot of teams. Like, you get a big stop, you're getting the ball back, you're feeling good, and then wham, the rug is just pulled out from under you with that fake punt. But the Bucs stayed strong with it, and again, played a fantastic defensive performance with only 16 points. Lesser teams, I think, would have folded.
Yep, I agree. Ric Flair, Nature Boy, coming in with.
I got texted during the game that Ric Flair was at Ferg's today. So shout out Dugan for that text.
Yeah.
So he was at Ferg's watching.
Yeah, he's super excited. He said before the game, "Let's go Buccaneers!" Woo! And then after the game, he said, "Go Buccaneers! Baker Mayfield may be the MVP, and don't piss off Aaron Rodgers, my man. Go New York Jets. I'm divided. Woo!" So there you go, Matt. You got the Nature Boy liking Baker Mayfield and Aaron Rodgers.
What a trio! A night on the town with the three of them would be something. For sure.
Right.
Thanks to Nicola with the $1.99 Super Chat who says, one more touchdown for Mike, and he's our all-time scorer, ?
I think he's already there. He's the top
touchdown-wise, he is. If you mean like official points, it's usually like a kicker that has it because of all the extra points and field goals. But, touchdown-wise, Mike has it. He has like pretty much every record in the book.
That's probably a question for Bailey Adams or Greg Allman. They like to attack those stats with a magnifying glass.
We have another big-time Super Chat. Wow. Thank you to Trustin Vorbeck for this $49.99 Super Chat, who says, what a great game for our defense. I love you guys so much. I hope the Bucs, and we love you, Trustin Vorbeck. I hope the Bucs and you two have a great night. Godwin was an absolute animal. Matty Diamonds. That's right. What a guy he is. What an animal. Thanks for the kind words. It didn't go undefeated. It's very difficult to go undefeated. Went 3-0 with my player props last week. This week, 2-1 on the player props. Was wrong about the Bucs over-under and the Bucs. Well, I had Lions -7, but I'm happy to be wrong about that. Still had a winning record with my NFL picks. So keep following them. You'll keep winning. Thank you for the kind words, Trustin Vorbeck. I hope you have a great night as well. Sounds like you are based on these Super Chats and the enjoyment of the Bucs winning.
Yeah, well, and I've got something special to talk about here. But first, let's talk about BetUS. It is the official sportsbook computer report. They're going to give you 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits plus 10% gambler's insurance, folks. I won a lot of money betting on the Buccaneers and doing some props today. I picked the Bucs. They were +9, and I cashed in on that. All you have to do is sign up using promo code PEWTER. So go to betus.com and use promo code PEWTER. This went over so well last week. I'm going to do it again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving out some Pewter Report T-shirts. So just to help celebrate the Bucs win. So we have them in black. We've got them in white. We've got them in gray. So if you want a free pewterreport.com T-shirt, all you got to do is sign up for BetUS, use promo code PEWTER, and then email me with your proof of sign up. You'll just get a screen on your phone or via email, and email that to me at sr@pewterreport.com with what color you want, white, gray, or black, and what size. And I'll send you one free of charge. How about that? All you have to do is sign up, make a deposit with BetUS, screenshot it. It's not going to have any of your financial information. It's not going to have your credit card number, not your address, whatever, but I will need your address. And send that to me along with the size of the shirt and the color. I'm going to give out 10 more free pewterreport.com T-shirts. First 10 people to send me emails with the BetUS sign up, get those shirts. So there you go.
Meets McGee, thank you for this $2 super chat. Who says, not bad for the second youngest team in the league. Yeah, that's another good part of it. This is a big moment for a lot of these players, whether Servassier or obviously the rookies. Jalen McMillan ended up having a big catch later in the game, so good experience for a lot of these players, especially the newcomers. Tall Florida guy, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. It says, great gritty win by the Bucs. Did you guys talk about Zyon? Had a hell of a game. Yeah, we began a lot of the show with Zyon. Scott pointed out he could have had 3 interceptions in the game if Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't turn into a defensive back in one of his coverage was great outside of just the interception. Ended up with, I think, 3 pass breakups in the game. So a huge game for Zyon and his first full game. Because remember, he left week 1 with that concussion injury. Yeah. Job well done by – more than well done, but a great job by Zyon McCollum.
He really has the makings of being that shutdown cornerback that Todd Bowles and Jason Light have kind of been waiting for him to take that step. And listen, he's the reason why they traded Carlton Davis. Zyon McCollum. He was him today.
He was, and Carlton Davis really didn't do anything in today's game. Chief T-Bird with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Who says, how big is this win, especially with all the people out? Baker is the gift that keeps giving. Thank you, Cleveland. The Browns didn't win today, but I mean, I think if you polled 1,000 people, 1,000 of them would say they'd rather take Baker Mayfield than Deshaun Watson.
Oh my gosh.
At the moment.
All of the draft picks. All of the money. Oh my
guaranteed money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
not to mention the scandals and everything too. Baker Mayfield all day.
Yeah, and also Carolina
great leader too.
Yeah, I wrote about this on my SR's Fab 5 on Friday. Thank heavens and the Panthers and the Browns for Baker Mayfield, because it's amazing how both of those teams are struggling at the quarterback position with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, and Bryce Young just does not look like the answer at all in Cleveland. And remember, not only did Cleveland trade up to get him with the first overall pick, they passed on C.J. Stroud. And part of that trade up was giving up the first overall pick this year because they sucked so bad last year. So, I mean, it's just devastating for two teams that both had Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm a big believer in change of scenery does players good sometimes, and sometimes it's the circumstances, right? I mean, if Joe Montana didn't go to the 49ers, would he have been Joe Montana if he went to a Buccaneers or a different team? Steve Young was not Steve Young in Tampa, but, he became Steve Young in San Francisco. So there is something to that. But at the same time, the Panthers gave up on Baker so quickly, and I think the Browns did too. They just the grass isn't always greener.
Right.
And,
like he had one bad season playing through a shoulder injury, and they were just done with him. Now, we don't need to go down the history of it. It's all well documented.
Yeah.
It's treasure for the Bucs in this situation with having Baker Mayfield. We just did that one. Thank you to M. McKinnon 88 with this $1.99 super chat, who says, any news on Vita Vea? Saints looking kind of wild, not gonna lie.
Yeah, listen, the Saints week 1 win over the Panthers, okay, that's kind of a given. What they did to the Cowboys today in Dallas, that was a little bit of an eye-opener, and especially with the way Derek Carr and the Saints have put up points. That's saying something, because Derek Carr did not look that comfortable last year. He did not he was not the impact player that New Orleans hoped he would be. Now, they did win 9 games. Tampa Bay won the tiebreaker. It should be noted that the Bucs and the Saints had the same record. And he did roll into Tampa Bay when the Bucs had a chance to beat the Saints and win the division in week 17, and they drubbed Tampa Bay. So we'll see. This is a little interesting turn of events here in the NFC South, because nobody really picked the Saints to do much this year. Everybody picked the Falcons. Pewter Report picked the Bucs, and the Bucs are right in the thick of it. But we'll see if the Saints are contenders or pretenders in a few weeks, or if they're going to come back down to earth or not, or if they're going to stay there on top of the NFC South.
Yeah, it's a two-team race in the NFC South, all right.
Yeah.
Just not the two teams that were expected, or at least one of the
And
two.
to the point about Vita, I've sent some texts out. I've not heard anything back that's bad. We'll see. He has to get some MRI, tests done for sure. It's a knee injury. Yaya Diaby kind of rolled up on his knee, hit him from the side, which sometimes that's an ACL, sometimes it's an MCL. You want the MCL. That's a 2 to 4 week injury. The ACL, that's usually season ending, right? So, hopefully it's just an MCL sprain where you might miss Vita Vea for a couple of weeks, and hopefully this team gets Kalijah Kancey back. But as I reported on Saturday, they're going to be cautious with Kalijah Kancey. They do not want him to have a Minnesota Vikings situation where they kind of rush him back. They think he's back. He plays 11 snaps, re-aggravates that injury, then misses the next 3 games. So when Kalijah Kancey is back at practice and ready to play, they'll play him, but they want him to be back for the full rest of the season, like he was last year, Matt. I mean, he played 14 straight games to end the season. Once he came back, they're hopeful that happens again.
Injuries have just been brutal to the Bucs early on in this year. But again, at least it's earlier in the season and not later in the year.
Yeah.
And they've come out unscathed, at least record-wise, going 2-0. And you play a Broncos team that's certainly a winnable game.
Yeah. I mean,
depth has stepped up.
Hadn't been pretty, but the depth in this team has helped them these first 2 weeks for sure.
Depth super important. I said that about Christian Izien coming up with the interception, though a lot of people could have got that interception. But regardless, he played pretty well. And depth is important. It matters. And the fact that the Bucs were able to win, being down so many players, obviously is a great sign for the team moving forward. Thanks again to Chief Tieber for $4.99 super chat, who says one more: being able to beat Detroit on the road, missing what we were. What is this team's ceiling when healthy? I think they showed today their ceiling is they can win the Super Bowl. I said at the beginning of the year, NFC Championship game is in my opinion, their ceiling, but exercising this demon, beating the Lions. Yeah. And if they go toe-to-toe with a lot of their teams that they play against in the middle of the season, they could upgrade to Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. I think the path to that scenario happening, or at least the path to 10 wins, as I looked at it, was I believe there's 6 playoff teams that Tampa Bay faces this year, right? You got the Final Four from last year, 49ers, Chiefs, Ravens, and the Lions, right? They've already handled business. They won one of those. And I think if you can win 2 of those, if you can go 2-4, and they've already off to a good start, if you can go 2-4 against those teams, then you throw in the Eagles, you throw in the Cowboys as those other playoff teams from a year ago. There's always teams that rise up. Maybe it's the Saints this year. Maybe we'll see. But if this team were to go 4-2 in the NFC South and at least win 2 out of those 6 powerhouse games, and then in the other games win 8, right, including going 4-2 in the division, those 8 wins versus the non-playoff teams from last year and going 2-4, that gets you to 10. And shoot, Matt, I mean, the last 2 years, 8 wins was good enough to win the NFC South. 9 wins was good enough. We think probably 10 wins might win it this year. But you're playing a little bit with house money with this early road win at the Lions. And you put it in your back pocket, Matt, because this could help this team. Exactly right. Tiebreaker somewhere down the stretch in January when all this playoff seeding occurs. So, yeah. It's huge. Getting this right now, the Buccaneers are 2-0 in the NFC. That's important because that's a tiebreaker, and they're 1-0 against the Lions head-to-head. I don't know if the Commanders, they did win today. Don't think they're going to be in the playoff picture. I would certainly suspect Detroit to be in the playoff picture, and also
very early. And the Vikings look good, but I think Justin Jefferson got injured. Yeah. This may not. You just said tiebreaker. Could also help with the tiebreaker in the seeding. Like if the Bucs win the division and the Lions win the division. Yep. I mean, who knows? Bucs they're undefeated. They could be the number 1 seed and get a first round bye. Very long way to go, but hey, someone has to get it, right?
I asked a lot of players what would have happened, and this is all fantasy football. This is all fiction because it didn't happen, right? But what would have happened coming off that win over the Eagles at home, and maybe you're hosting the Lions in the divisional round of the playoffs rather than going to Detroit? And all I got was a bunch of smiles. Nobody wanted to commit to, would have been different. We would have won, because that's history, right? Sure. But I got a lot of smiles. And maybe those tables turn this year. And if the Bucs do play the Lions in the postseason, maybe it's at Ray J and not Ford Field. And that could make all the difference in the world. Kind of like what Autograph is doing. It's a fantastic app. You've told us, Pewter Report, when you're going to get an app. And when we've told you, we're not going to. But here's the cool thing. You can always check out pewterreport.com on your browser. And you can always visit our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, for our podcast. And, of course, our social media. We're over 100,000 social media followers when you factor in X and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. But when you go to the Google Play Store or the App Store on Apple, whether you have an Android or an Apple iPhone, you can download Autograph Fandom Rewarded. It's co-founded by Tom Brady, Super Bowl winning champion for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rumor has it he also played for the Patriots. I don't really remember that, but I do know that he ended his career as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He co-founded this on the belief that the devotion should be rewarded by the fans, and the future of fandom belongs to those fans. So here's the scoop. Read Pewter Report news on Autograph. All of our stories are on there. You can watch the Pewter Report videos and podcasts. They're on there. And you get rewarded. You actually score points for reading our stories, watching our videos within the app. It's fantastic. And then you can use those points to get merchandise and buy tickets. So it's a great way to read all of our content and consume all of our content. And you can also do the same for other outlets when it comes to Buccaneer coverage, for all NFL teams, for college, my Kansas State Wildcats. I've got all of my coverage right there on the Autograph app. It's free. That's the best part. Free to download, free to use. Use promo code PEWTER to sign up. That's PEWTER. When you sign up, it just tells Autograph that you heard about it from us, and we appreciate that. But check out Autograph, Fandom Rewarded, and check out all of Pewter Report's content on Autograph.
Yeah, make sure you check it out. Obviously for the Bucs and for Pewter Report, but for other sports as well. If you're a fan of other teams, like you had just mentioned. Farouk Kawab had a comment. Am I the only one that thinks Dennis should be in permanently at linebacker? We talked about that earlier, and I thought you had a great point, Scott, that injuries to Savassi Dennis early in his career, it almost might be better to platoon them. But we'll see. Like we said during the week, I think every week that we're going to get a different outlook of how the inside linebacker rotation is, just based on who the opponent is and what their strengths are. Yeah,
and I will say this too, Matt, I'm going to be interested to read your snap counts story tomorrow on pewterreport.com, because I wouldn't be surprised if Savassi Dennis outsnapped KJ Britt, or as we talked about on our Pewter Insider show, Matt, and also on the Pewter Report Wednesday podcast, that's our preview podcast, that you might see the KJ Britt and the Savassi Dennis snap counts get closer to 50-50, and it felt that way, certainly in the second half today.
I think that will likely be the case, and you can check out. Oh, we got another super chat. Nice. Thank you to Brandon Mackey for this $10 super chat. Canadian. That says, what a gutsy effort down key starters. This team can win with Baker. Loving Cohen, but only concern was the apparent refusal to get school help with Hutch. Lucky to survive his impact. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, Brandon Mackey. Everything you said is true and accurate. And let's face it can't really get much worse with Justin School. So just imagine when they're not going up against Aiden Hutchinson.
Absolutely right. Hopefully Luke Gedeke gets back sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap it up. Got a lot of stuff on pewterreport.com right now with the post game. More to come, especially tomorrow. So if you're not already doing so, please follow us on our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're a fan of the show. We got another show coming up on Monday. It's a Victory Monday, the second Victory Monday of the season, as the Bucs begin their 2024 year 2-0 with a very winnable matchup coming up in week 3. So that'll do it for us. On
I want to get a quick question here. Why didn't Bowles challenge the first fumble? I believe that the ref said that there was not going to be enough to overcall it. So there you go.
Yeah. So that'll do it for us today. this afternoon. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.